The Society of Decorative Painters is an international not-for-profit organization dedicated to promoting the art of decorative painting. The certification program provides an opportunity for members to submit their work to be judged for certification. There are two levels of certification: the Certified Decorative Artist (CDA) and the Master Decorative Artist (MDA). It is extremely important that each applicant understand the work submitted must be entirely his or her own. In preparing and working on the entry, the applicant may not seek assistance or critique from anyone, including teachers, art students, or friends. Each year a new design is provided for the applicants. There is one opportunity each year to present work to be judged. This is just prior to the annual meeting and conference, which is held in the spring of each year. Entries are carefully judged and receive a critique. This entry into the certification stroke category has already been judged and did not pass. This reenactment of the judging process will help applicants understand how the judges complete the critique forms. Please watch video number 1, Introduction to Certification, prior to watching this video. For best results, watch on full screen.
Pretty colors, complementary colors.
What's the number?
The number is C153.
Going to put our initials on the yellow sheet.
Okay.
In case somebody has questions about it.
I like the way that she's taken her number and put it exactly in the center of the back of the board. That's exactly what we like applicants to do. We don't like them here, or over here, or down here. Just right in the center.
Right. So how is her finish? Back of the board. We looked at the back of the board.
The back of the board is
good.
so nice.
Yeah.
The finish is so nice on the back of the board. Is very skillfully done. I think it's nice. So what do you think? If there's no streaks, or
it doesn't need any more finish, there's no streaks. Skillful. I think it's pretty skillful application.
I do too. I think
varnish.
it's a very nice skillful application. Yeah. Good start.
Okay, the next thing is the frame. Now this is the liner. What do you think about the liner? Is that supportive?
Yes, I think it is actually. It's a little bit
yeah.
more dull than the elements on the inside, so it doesn't grab your attention.
Okay. But
it stays within the colors.
Liner is supportive. She didn't add anything on the frame.
There's no antiquing.
There's no antiquing. The color value and intensity is supportive.
I would say definitely.
So the way this reads, it looks like it's overall pleasing and supportive.
I would say it is pleasing and supportive.
Okay, next we have the background. It doesn't look like she added anything to the background.
No, she didn't, but at CDA level it's not required, and I think that it's fine.
It does allow the design to remain the focal point.
I absolutely agree with that.
Doesn't distract. The color relates.
Yes.
I agree. There's no antiquing on it that you can see on the background?
No, I don't see any antiquing.
So the color value and intensity of the background is supportive?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I agree. So as far as the background, we've got either sufficient, overall pleasing, or excellent.
I would say overall pleasing.
Yeah, I agree. Now we're up to neatness.
Mm-hmm.
We have any untidy edges evident?
Right where it bumps out a little bit there. But even right here along the stroke, all those edges.
Right.
It seems picky, but that's the difference between
a clean edge and
an untidy edge.
So you're going to mark some 26s?
Yes, I will.
Okay, the next is do you see any cleanup evident?
There's some cleanup down in here, as well as messy edges. And over here, down in this area. See this out here too, right out in here. This is all cleanup, right there. And I think when you're painting and, you get your fingers in it and you try to clean it up, it affects the whole piece. Back up in here, the cleanup is so evident.
And also, when we're doing these critiques, we're answering questions.
We are answering questions.
Questions
There's a lot of cleanup
is there any cleanup evidence?
Right in here, down here, a lot of cleanup in
Right.
there. And it's hard to do it in one single stroke, for sure. But that's part of a test. So we'll mark some 20s on this for evidence of cleanup.
Okay, our next question is, are some objects misshapen? And that would be number 19. I don't see that any of the larger elements are misshapen, do you?
What about in there?
Yeah, that stroke is a little misshapen.
See if I can get this there. Right in there where it should come. This one's nice. Could even be a little bit more round out here. But this one wraps around where this one just sort of comes and then makes a straight line in.
And did we find any tracing lines evident? I don't see anything that's distracting.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
She's done a good job with her
Right.
tracing lines. I think this was more just a messy edge.
So we do have some many untidy areas that we have marked. We want to go with many
Many?
or minor.
No, I think many.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. The many is, there's too many.
Okay, now we're up to the detail work.
Okay.
Did she add anything? She looks like she added.
The cross hatching.
Let's see that transparency again. She did add the cross hatching, didn't she?
Yes, she
Cross
did.
hatching
She did
is
add
an addition.
the cross hatching, and she added the yin and yang strokes here because it was just an oval.
Right.
So she added that, and she made these buds.
So cross hatching, some of these little flower details.
The flower details.
I think the cross hatching looks pretty nice.
I do too. I think it does. The lines are pretty steady, and they're pretty even as far as the thickness of the lines. And she does have value change within them to cause it to take a round shape.
And I think that we're going to consider that some of her detail line work too.
Right,
Because that,
detail line work and addition of. And then she's made these round ball flowers, I guess, into some buds. And she's done them very nicely. It's nice. And then over here, down here, she added her yin and yang strokes. I like the way she's carried her light color up and over and sort of just ended it very gracefully.
Okay, let's check out her dots. Dots are or are not well done.
Some of the dots, the way they follow the outline, I don't think is as well done as it could be.
Right.
It's a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
This one, she has the big one in the middle and then goes smaller and smaller, and this one, sort of, she just went smaller, smaller, smaller to the outside. And they should be the same. I have to go back. This is really nice what she did in here. Nice shading.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most of her little dots around the flowers are done okay. I mean, I wouldn't count her down for them for sure.
No. So they're pretty much done well, except for some minor exceptions, and that could be the grade 8 graduation. Quality of her detail work is good with some minor
exceptions. Yeah.
Okay, the next areas are blending skills.
Okay.
So we have some, let's see if we can find any underblended areas, and that would be a number 15.
Right in here. See that line right along in there.
Right. That's pretty, yeah.
It's
maybe
pretty
right in
minor,
there.
but
it's probably because the light and the dark are touching right there. Maybe that's something else that makes it look like that.
yeah.
Let's put C number 15, and you're going to mark those.
Right.
So do we have any overblending?
That number is 14. It's really hard to judge these that have that's a little bit underblended right there, where she's used her complementary color. I wish she hadn't done that, because when you mix the green and the red or any complementary colors, you end up with mud.
It's a little distracting,
And
isn't
it's
it?
distracting, and you can tell that her intent was good and that she really tried, but I wish she would have just stayed with the green, and if she wanted to add some red, maybe she could have done this center vein line in red to carry her red through, or outline the edge in red, similar to this stroke here. But I really think that trying to blend those two colors is not really an advisable way to go. But I'd really like seeing the evidence of pulled strokes, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It is so nice to see, even though they're transparent, you can tell. You can see the brush marks, you can see the edges, you can see the fact that she did it in one pull. Here, I really like seeing that. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's what stroke work is all about.
So I'm going to put a 14 in, and I'm going to mark some muddy areas.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that
Especially on the red over the green, it looks a little muddy.
right.
And overblending, it has to do with, overblending and losing value. Sometimes it's hard to tell if, some of the areas are flat because they overblended it, or if they didn't even put, the value on there to begin
Exactly.
with. Yeah. So it's
So
kinda
maybe a
hard to
4 and a
make-
5, I would say, for
Yeah.
underblended, and even up in here on these strokes here, there's no value change at all, except down maybe down in the depths here, and she went lighter, but I don't think she went quite light enough
Yeah.
to achieve any form.
So when we're answering this question, sometimes it's hard, to look at overblending, like you overblended it and you lost value, or you just didn't put the value on there to begin with and it ended up flat.
Right.
So we've got overblending, underblending, apparent in some areas.
Okay.
Now we're on to her intensity. And I think this is where that we're going to, find some problems, because as I look at this, I can see that the red jumps out at me more than the green.
Yeah. This is a hard color combination to work with, because it's hard to get the greens and the reds to match intensities.
Right.
It really
Complementary
is.
colors.
The complementary colors, always one is more intense than the other, unless you really dull down one and spark up the other. So they're just
Also,
right.
whatever color your background is, this one's going to rest easier on your background than the opposite complement.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll start with the intensity of the background is supportive. We're
It
looking at
is.
the background.
Yeah, we said that already down below in
Yeah.
the background area too.
So it is supportive. Intensity of anything causes the eye to jump or stop abruptly. I don't really think there's
I don't
any...
see anything. I think her colors flow really well. I think she's carried her colors
Right. I don't think anything is anything too dull in relation to other areas.
There are, but I don't think they were. It wasn't done because she changed her colors. It was because she has some transparent strokes, and since she's using complementary colors, the color from the green shows through the red, and
Right.
it dulls down the red.
Right.
So I don't think I'd count her down too much for that, because it wasn't dulled down intentionally.
Yeah. We could have also said that the green appears a little dull, but it's that could also be because the red is more intense than the green.
Right.
So
you can say the red is too intense or the green is too dull.
how about anything too bright in relation to other areas? The red's a little bright in relation to the
greens
green. So we
and
can
the background.
You can just tell her that the red is a little too bright in relation to other areas.
Right.
Because our eye does tend to go from red to red to red around the design. So some colors are too bright or too dull. Let's say they're too bright.
Yeah.
We'll put
And then red.
red. And I don't know. What do you think about even saying that she's got some overall good control of intensities? Because actually, other than the red being a little too bright.
Yeah, again, I think she does have the at least the basic knowledge of intensities.
Right.
A difficult color combination, and so she has the basic knowledge, but she'll either have to learn how to dull down her reds if she wants to use this color scheme again, or perk up the greens.
Right. So they're a little more equal.
Exactly.
So I think I'd like to give her an overall control of intensities,
Yes.
other than with exception of the red.
Right, I agree with that.
Okay.
I think that's nice to do that for her.
Okay, now we're on value.
Okay.
Value of the background is supportive.
Yes.
And one thing that we also do is, anytime that we're talking about the background, we have to remember that we've done all of this writing about the background over here.
Exactly.
So we do tend to, make sure we don't contradict ourselves either.
Exactly, but with this one it's very clear.
Right, the background is supportive. Anything value causes the eye to jump or stop abruptly?
Well, I think one of the things, and we should have maybe discussed it also in the blending, is this heart appears somewhat flat because she doesn't have her dark medium, and I think what she's missing is the light in that heart.
Yeah.
That
It's quite a large area to...
It is.
To not have another value in.
Another value in, and her blending skills are pretty good in that. There's no real sharp lines, but she just needed a third value.
Yeah. Okay, how about lack of proper value causes items to appear flat?
Right. I put a 5 on the heart for that.
I'll just put C number 5 on here. And you can show her where some objects that are flat.
Flat, okay. I've marked these as flat. And this is flat, and these is flat.
More value control needed to create flow and interest?
Yes.
I think one of the things she's lacking in here is light values.
Right.
It seems very middle value painting. We do see a little bit of light here, but if your eye is flowing from light to light, that's not
right. And I think she tried to achieve this, but she covered it up with a light value of red, which just made a light value of mud. And I think you're 100% right. She does have a few really light areas that are nice to see, but there's not enough light to carry you through. It's the whole piece sort of appears flat because of lack of value control.
Okay, is there anything that you see that is too light or too dark for its position in the design?
No, I really don't.
Okay, good. So we either have definitely not weak control, some basic knowledge of value control, but improvement needed, or overall good.
No, I said some basic.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I can even say put a little message over here to give her a little bit more heads up on this, that flowers are lacking light and dark values for form.
And so is the heart.
Yeah, light helps carry the eye through the painting. So I'm just going to write a little note about that over there.
That'll be good.
Okay.
I think even here where she had the overstrokes, they're light, but if they were a little bit lighter, they would have shown up a little bit more. But there again, it was a one pulled stroke, so the background came through and darkened them down. She probably started with a lighter color and ended up with that.
Yeah, we do want a one pulled stroke, but if that was a little lighter to begin with, then it would have shown up more.
Exactly.
Okay, the next area is color management. Color of the background is supportive.
Of course.
Yes. Color for anything causes the eye to jump.
No, we talked about that. There's no jumping. Actually, her color management throughout carries the eye very nicely.
Yeah. There is adequate repetition of color.
Yes.
Yeah, she's done a nice job placing her colors.
Yes.
More color control needed to create flow and interest? Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
She definitely has both colors flowing.
Right.
Color balance has been handled well.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything appears to be beyond the limits of the color scheme? No.
No.
Color harmony has been handled well.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, the next thing we have is stroke control. So do her strokes appear stiff and overworked due to tipping, floating, and or cleanup? I don't see any tipping or floating. Or floating would be like side loading or adding lights and darks on top
I don't
of the
see
strokes.
that. I think she pulled most of this. And she may have floated over there, but I can't tell for sure, so I'm not going to comment on it.
Next thing we have is the long line work is either graceful or not graceful.
Some of it is very nice, but some of it is kind of joggy.
Mm-hmm.
On some of her line work, especially down in here, it should be a nice sweeping arc that comes around and follows this line. And it's not, and a lot of her line work doesn't follow the contour. I would have loved to have seen this one come down where if it had continued instead of hitting that tulip.
How about the negative space between strokes within the groupings? Is that consistent?
It's not the same as on the other side.
Is there anywhere we can put a number 2? Let's find a number 2 that shows her some good areas that she's
I think this is a real nice stroke up here.
Right.
It goes right into where it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And up in here, this one. Look how nice that is. Look how nice this is.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how the tail just trails down
that's
exactly
very
where
nice.
it's supposed to. How nice is that?
Let's find one of her groupings that does have a nice graduation of size of strokes so we can, point that out to her. This one looks about the same size as that one.
Yeah.
It's just nice to point these things out so they know what we're looking for.
So they can
How
absolutely.
about this one down here? This one down here. Is that a nice graduation here?
The shape of her strokes is not consistent. If she'll go back up here to the ones that we've marked with 2s and practice those strokes over and over and over again, she'll be in good stead. I even think this one's pretty nice here.
Our next question is, do strokes follow the contour of the object? Let's point out some of those strokes that we're looking for. Like these ones here, this is following contour of the tulip. These ones are nice. Look at these are following.
They do follow.
They do follow the contour. Yes. Next question, strokes do or do not flow with the line of design? Now let's explain.
The strokes do not.
Yeah, let's kind of explain what that is, entailing the line of design.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you have this, for instance, this line work here, now this would be the line of design because it's the direction it's going, the shape, the curve. So if you look at these strokes here, that would be flowing into the line of design or following the line of design. But you see right here, see how this one is flipping up a little bit.
And I think that this is a good example also, that they have the arch here, and then this one follows, and then this one sort of flips out a little bit, and his little tail, if continued down, would come out this way. This one's nice. This one should be a little bit straighter, not quite as much arch there. And then this one comes down. And then this one, his tail, if you continued the tail, it would glide right into the tulip or the flower.
Right.
And these strokes down here, where there's one on top of the other, they have to have more room because this one, either got flattened out because of the red line work that she
Right.
put on top of it. I can't tell whether it was flat to begin with or whether it was just fine to begin with and she put that red line
You
on.
can see over on this side it looks better. You
Right.
can see the stroke, and you can't over here.
You can't over here. And then this one the same way, where it gets flattened out
Right.
by this red line, and this one has a nicer curve.
Yeah, so that's all has to do with the line of design as
Exactly.
things are curving into the center there.
And up here, these S strokes, this one, if you follow the tail, it would come out here instead of scooting right down in and tucking right down in. And the same way here. It comes out, but it would, if you just continued it, it would collide in here instead of tucking right down in between those two. So this is another where you just say practice, practice, practice.
Can we give her like can you put an 18 where you can show her some of the areas that
Oh,
do
sure.
not- and I can just put C number 18.
Right.
And our next question are strokes are or are not well shaped. And this is an area we definitely like to put some 2s to let people know the ones that are well shaped.
Right.
And then we try to think
Well,
of them.
we've already put some 2s on here
Right.
to show her.
Now, one thing I like to see is a definite head, body, and tail to a stroke.
Right.
Sometimes you just have a body and no head or tail. It's just all the same width.
Some of these are kind of chubby.
Right. So this one looks pretty nice. Where is that? I see it in, oh, there's a red one up here.
Mhm.
This has a nice head, body,
Body,
and tail.
tail.
That's a really nice example. So we've given her some 2s to show the good strokes.
We have.
But overall, what would you say overall on her strokes? Probably-
Overall, I think that she definitely needs
She needs practice.
practice.
Right.
She definitely needs practice.
I would say most are not well shaped. What do you
Yes,
think?
most are not well shaped.
And most, of course, that's the majority.
Here, I wanted to point out that this stroke here definitely has its problems. It's hooked, and if she had started it closer and had a nice head, body, and tail and then just followed right down into that corner, it really would have been nice. And I think it's very, very important to show a nice stroke. And this one would have been a nice stroke except she has that point right there,
Right.
and
not much of a tail.
not much of a tail. But this one's nice. But she has some square
This one looks
heads
pretty nice too.
and some messy edges. So it's not that I want to pick on this applicant or her test, because she worked very hard on it. You can tell she did. But if we don't point out where the flaws are, how are you ever going to learn?
Right. I agree. So our next question, pulled strokes are or are not evident?
They are, and you should double underline are and put nice, because even on the ones that are not well shaped, she has pulled them. And just like this one here that has the ridges on the outside, those ridges aren't going to count against her.
No.
And she's pulled some really nice comma strokes, even in her tulip here. So she absolutely has the ability to do it. It's
Right.
just consistency that she's lacking.
Yeah. And I think it's nice when you can see through the strokes a little bit.
I do too.
That just lets us know that it's been a pulled stroke.
But always keep in mind, all the applicants that are watching this, when you have a pulled stroke and it's transparent, your background's going to show through and it may change the appearance of the color. And always remember, it's not what it is, it's what it appears to be.
Right.
So we want to make you very well aware that if you're pulling transparent strokes, be aware of your background color and if it is changing the color of your stroke.
Overall, her strokes, she definitely needs additional practice to achieve
Yes.
control. And her strokes control is not consistent.
Yes, I agree with that.
I'm going to write her a note on here telling her to practice pulling strokes with the line of design. Also, you know, having a head, body, and tail.
Right.
Thinking about that.
I practiced hours, and I would just take a line and draw it on my cardboard or my mat board, and then just practice pulling strokes against that line. And when it was full, I'd throw it away and do it again. So you don't even have to use the pattern or practice on your board.
Right.
You can just practice by just drawing any line, and it can be an S line, it can be just a soft curve, whatever you want, and just practice pulling your strokes on both sides because they are different.
Okay, well, next we have is the overall effect, which is, you know, a summarization of the entire critique form.
Mm-hmm.
And I can write her a note telling her that, you know, some of her problem areas are value and stroke control.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And, you know, just a little bit of an intensity over here with the red.
And I think the value, again, there again, she's just missing some light.
Okay, I'll write that in a minute. She added some cross-hatching. Now, we did like that.
Oh, yes.
So let's definitely...
The addition of the cross-hatching is nice.
Yeah. She chose... did she choose to develop a center of interest?
No, I don't think so.
No. Background treatment is supportive. She did a good job on her background. Anything disrupts the flow of the design?
No.
Not really.
No, I don't think so. Actually, I think she did a good job helping your eye to go through her piece.
And as far as her strokes, I think we can tell her or the applicant needs practice.
Exactly.
And use of color has been effectively handled.
Yeah, it's been handled.
So we have lacks interest areas, distracting areas, several weaknesses.
I think that is a true statement because she does lack interest areas. Her little 5-petal flowers, they're not particularly symmetrical, and she could have done a little bit more with them, even though it's not on the pattern, but she could have done that to create interest.
Right.
And, you know, to create more interest in the large heart, she might have wanted to do a couple of strokes like she did on the tulip. The tulip, those strokes were in the pattern, but she could have done that. So I think that by putting lacks interest areas, it'll help her learn to develop some interest areas.
I think she also has several weaknesses, mainly her strokes. Weakness in, you know, consistency
Right.
and following the line of design.
And cleanup.
And the cleanup,
We mentioned the cleanup. She just has to have cleaner, sharper, crisper edges.
Now, can we also tell her that she's got some good areas? I think that her color management was pretty good. So I'd like to give her that.
Yes, absolutely.
Some good areas in her, mainly her color management.
Uh-huh. So we try to point out where your mistakes were made and not focus in as much on where you didn't make a mistake, because if you didn't make a mistake, you've got it.
Right.
Run with it.
I think it's hard for the applicant to, after they worked so hard on this, to get the critique back. And maybe they're not looking at some of the good things that we said, but they're only looking at the negative, and they take that negative in and
yes.
maybe not want to ever do this again because they don't want to hear anything negative. But our goal is always to help you.
And you know, very often when you do get a non-passing critique, there's always disappointment, always. So if you can allow a little bit of time to bypass that and then read your critique again, and perhaps you'll see it in a light that we have meant it to be, as something that will help you grow and learn and become a better painter.
We hope that this has brought a clarity of how the judging process is done, and we hope that you will be ever prudent and ever faithful in your journey to achieve your MDA or CDA, or just excellence in your painting.
Absolutely.
Good luck to you.
Good luck.
Good luck.